Oh no, hell no, they done up and done it. I had a video last week or so about Marvel Champions where I complained about there being no X-Men. It looks like Fantasy Flight, not only maybe they couldn't put the X-Men in the Marvel Champions game, but after the news today, it seems more like they wouldn't, because they were working on their own X-Men game. So here's what we're gonna do. I want to just give you my impressions just because I watched the whole play video. It's based on Elder Sign, and I love Elder Sign. It's that big box up there, ba-dink, is all Elder Sign. So it's just some impressions, just a quick video I wanted to do. I am, on a scale of 1 to 10, my excitement is like a dull 6. Of course it's X-Men and I love X-Men, but I think I need to see more of the game before I make a final opinion. Who knew that was a thing that needed to happen? Ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoy this faceless video full of my voice and a lot of X-Men talk. Peace out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Gen Con Online or whatever it was this weekend, and this is the main event of my life. So here is the Marvel X-Men Mutant Insurrection. This is the new DICE game that's going to be coming out next year. First thing, I just want to kind of go through the press release that they did for it. Obviously, we'll look at the trailer in a moment, or we already have. I'm not sure how we're going to handle it. Probably look at it now. All right, so Marvel, that's fine. Roll dice to complete mission, so I'm thinking automatically this is Elder Sign. It's a lot of cards, mean nothing to me, but a lot of symbols that I'm going to have to complete. Alright, give me some good villains. Those aren't villains, those are heroes. Those are a lot of heroes. I do have mutant powers, thank you. Alright. Obviously, everything is pretty. It's Fantasy Flight. Oh, that's a cool Shadow Cat. Chunky dice. That Blackbird is ridiculous. Alright, so adequately hyped based on just that. Alright, so that is a lot to unpack. I'm sure there's more information here about who designed it and all that other crap. A couple things that we want to note is right off the bat, when I looked at this, it looked like Elder Sign. Now, I do love Elder Sign more than most, and we're going to get into that. So just kind of taking a quick look here. Here is everything. I'm going to have a better breakdown of what all this stuff is, because they did put out a play video that was like an hour and a half, and I watched all that and give you some impressions of that. This little thing here is super cool. I do like the little Blackbird that you put them on, which is completely unnecessary, but I think this also goes to show that you can have a lot of creativity and a big 3D table presence without having minis and driving up the cost of this game astronomically. Also, I fucking love standees. All of this art is original art. In my Marvel Champions video, I talked about how it seemed like it had no cohesion and it was kind of boring. It's not all perfect. For example, what the fuck is going on with Wolverine's claws? Those claws are as tall as his torso. Where do they go, bro? Where do they go? But whatever, I don't really care. As long as it's new and it's original, I'm willing to deal with Jesus Christ. All right, moving on. To me, my X-Men. So just basically telling standees more. Okay, I can't even get over it. Look how big those fucking claws are. My God, Avalanche doesn't stand a chance. And here, over here, we'll talk about this more in the breakdown. I'm just kind of going through this. So we have your character card. They're supposed to be tarot size, and then the assist cards. So when they go on the same mission, they can actually do fun stuff there. Here is, oh my God damn. Some more stuff there. There are the dice, which are equivalent to kind of like Elder Sign stuff. The kapows at the beginning are like the investigation, and then the teamwork, and then the villainy, which is the Magneto helmet, which is pretty cool. Threat track, we'll talk about that. Bonds, we'll talk about that. Now this shit here is super cool. I will talk about this more in a minute as well. So apparently this whole thing is the finale. In Elder Sign, at the end, you may or may not fight the boss, and when you do, it usually means that you've lost. But this, every single mission ends with this big multi-card thing. And on the other side of these cards are the missions that you're going through in a very Eldritch Horror kind of way. And here's a playmat that I don't fucking need. All right, cool. All right, let's talk about the game itself based on what I saw of the playthrough. All right, here we go. So we have Mutant Insurrection. It's going to be $55, which seems a little steep, but they did say that it comes with 16 heroes and 8 missions. The heroes, based on the video that we watched and after some careful analysis, is Angel, Armor, Beast, Cyclops, Colossus, Forge, Gambit, Iceman, Jubilee, Magic, Phoenix, Rogue, Shadowcat, Storm, X-23, and Wolverine and his giant-ass claws. That is wonderful. I can't think of anyone that shouldn't be there. It's really cool that they include someone like Armor, and I think that that's a pretty good list. Magic is an interesting choice, and I think everyone else they belong there. All right, I can't think of anyone who I would want on here immediately that I don't see, but you got the 90s TV show X-Men in there, and you got everyone on the cover here looking nice. All right, let's talk about this game here. So here is the actual game, and these two guys down here playing it, doing a very good job doing so. So top to bottom, we have the completed missions. So every mission in a very eldritch horror kind of way will have a mission that you have to complete, and that's what these are. These are the missions that are the story missions, and when you complete them, this is the flavor text, and on the back is where that big panoramic cool thing is going to be. So this is just fluff and then other stuff, that's fine. Up here is his character card. If you look, so here is the character card, and over here is his special power that if 2 people go on one mission, they can alternate cards and kind of boost each other. But you can also take your own card, but if you take your own card, you can't do your special power, you just get your fancy dice up there at the top. Fine. So we have this here, which is the threat track or doom track. And that's cool because if you look on some of the missions down here, you'll see some red and some yellow, and you only have to do those if your threat marker is in the red or the yellow, which is very cool. So if you can manage your threat properly, the threats are not as thready, but if you do not manage them, then your threats are going to be a little more thready. Like the Silver Samurai will fuck you up if you aren't paying attention. The Blackbird is just like a staging area. It's completely superfluous. You don't need it at all. And then the standees, everything is original art. Looking over here, we have some bonds which will break and be good and bad with different X-Men teams. It's completely organic as it happens throughout the game, and it'll give boost to people who go on the same mission and flaws or banes to people who don't. Now, the only thing looking at this, we also have the school here, which is basically the museum. I was told, or as I understand, not told by these guys down here, that these are the same 3 cards every time. So they do different things, like they will all heal you, but then they'll give you a training marker, which are these things down here, which are guaranteed die results. So almost like an extra die with that result. They will heal you and give you other different effects. They said that there are things that will allow you to change those throughout, but that's fine. Up here is a villain deck and an allies deck. They didn't really go too much in this. The threats, like these down here, can have you draw different villains and such. They didn't really give any examples, but cool. More X-Men, the more bad guys, the better. And these are the villains, or not the villains, the allies. There was a card that was drawn here that was like, oh, there's a mutant out there doing its powers, so they had to go and calm it down, take some damage, and then they get you draw an ally, and that's pretty cool. So all of the X-Men, the minor characters that aren't in here, they can be drawn from that deck up there. So what I see, I think I saw Cypher and a couple other ones that was kind of neat. Dazzler was in there as well. And the Dazzler art is really nice. I don't have it here because, I don't have it here. And here we go. So these right here are the threats. So at the end of every round, the threat will increase, and that's how you kind of mitigate that. And defeating them, failure and success at the bottom will cause the threat to go up or down, which is very cool. And now the way these missions work, so we'll roll the die here, and then we're trying to match these symbols. And when we do get these symbols, we get one of these things that will cover the mission. So unlike Eldritch Horror, or not Eldritch Horror, unlike Elder Sign, where you have to complete everything on the turn, the mission progress will roll over to your next turn. However, you will get a failure result, period, if you have attempted it. So you can get that failure result more than once, as opposed to it just being one sting and moving on. Anything else that I stood out? The only other thing that seemed kind of weird is there are yellow and red dice, and these symbols right here and these symbols down here might be confusing to be like, oh, is that the same? Nope. Is that the same? No, because you only roll, you only have to match the green ones always, but you only have to match the yellow ones if you're in the yellow threat, and you only have to match the red ones if you're in the red threat, which is kind of cool. So the more thready it is, the more difficult it is. And they even mentioned that they didn't really show a lot in this version of the game because it's only 2 players. More of the stuff comes out with more players that you have, which is very nice. All right, so here is that Dazzler art. That totally makes up for Mr. Long-Ass Wolverine Claws. Very cool. I love it. This is just different missions, different things. A lot of die mitigation. A lot of dice mitigation. Very, very cool. And so here is a close-up of the mission that I was talking about. This little arrow means you have to do them in order. That's very Elder Sign. And so you have to do all these, and that means take a damage. That's the result. And then success, reduce threat, for 1 hero forms a bond, and then failure, 1 hero discards a mutant. So if you had Dazzler, then you would be able to get Dazzler. But also, I like this right here. So there are characters in it. So if you fought the Silver Samurai and you beat him early, there's a chance that some of the other missions there would be easier. So this one allows you to complete that bottom objective if you fought the Silver Samurai, and in this playthrough, they did. So there's Silver Samurai, and they were beating him, and he was very difficult, but because they beat him, they were able to kind of go over. There's also these decks down here. So you have your story missions up here, and your other missions down here. And there are different ones for North America, Europe, this is Asia, and there's other ones. That's very, very Eldritch Horror, in which they have all of the decks at the top. So that's kind of neat. And they said a lot of your mutants, your Magnetos, and your Sabretooths are going to be in here. I'm assuming there's going to be a Sabretooth in North America kind of clawing his way out here. So that's kind of cool. All right, last thing that I want to talk about is the final battle. So once you have done the final battle, the story cards that were giving you all the fluff on the back, they're going to make a really cool panorama. And that's cool. So this was a version where you just have to get a certain number of these per player, which was cool. So they had to get this, and then down here it'll say per player, half player. So you may have to do this more than once and put little success tokens on it. And then everything else in the game, as you can see, gets wiped away. Here is the game before with all of this stuff, and then it gets wiped away for just the final battle. And everyone participates. You can't go back to the school, anything like that. And then you just go. There is a couple of symbols on here, like you'll take damage after every round, so it's a countdown. Some things will happen for threat, etc., etc. Let me grab the one from the website to have a better look at what's going on. All right, so here is the one from the website, and here we go. So at the bottom, you'll have a better idea. This down here is where the card goes in the panorama. So 1, 2, 3, obviously, because if you can't match that up. And then we have damage that happens. This right here I didn't talk about is the terror symbol, basically, from Elder Sign, where you can't re-roll them. But in here, they do allow you to re-roll them. But if you do, and you have one of these Magneto helmets on the board, on the mission that you're at, then you get a bad thing to happen, which is very cool. So you don't have to re-roll them, but if you do, you risk a bad thing happening. So here we need the number of people plus 1, and then the number of people. So everyone basically has to do this. Everyone has to hold their own. And so here it's just an extra thing. That's bad. And then threat phase, if no hero has a negative bond, add 2. I don't know what that is. Otherwise, each hero, blah, blah, blah. So it's just a lot of fighting and a lot of punchies and a lot of stuff. And then, so you're going to want to take care of these cards, because if you take care of this one, then obviously you don't have to worry about the effects of that anymore. If you take care of this one, so you're wanting to get rid of the one that maybe will damage everybody, and maybe the one that causes a lot of threat, so that's good. They said a lot of the characters are pretty chunky as far as health goes. Colossus will have more health than anyone else. And that's basically it. So it's just a re-themed, retooled Elder Sign. And that is basically it. They said Q1 2020. Now, is this baby's first Elder Sign or Elder Sign 2.0? I do see a lot of these systems in place that will upgrade and kind of streamline the process. And it does seem to be more team focused. The only way they could have made it more team focused if it was like simultaneous die rolling and you work together that way. But it does seem like a faster experience. There also appears to be less stuff on the board. Because if you've ever played Elder Sign, there is a lot of shit to consider, and it's information overload. And here, depending on the number of players, there's really only going to be a handful of missions, and then some missions down here. Obviously, the more people you play with, the more missions it'll be. but it seems a bit more manageable and a bit more focused. I do love the colors they chose for the die. Not bad. So it seems pretty streamlined, and it does seem like it's going to be a lot of fun. Will I be pre-ordering it with the mat and everything? Well, I know I'm going to be playing this because, Jesus Christ, it's X-Men. I love X-Men. This looks like it's going to be a decent time. This price seems a little high, but you're giving me 16 characters and 8 missions, and I've only seen 2. So I think there's going to be a lot of replayability with mixing and matching the different continents that you do, but it is basically, at the end of the day, all die rolling. So that's it. Thank you so much joining me. This is just kind of my impressions based on the Marvel video that I made. There's also one other thing I want to do. Look how big these fucking claws are. Wolverine is 3 claws high.